We would like to lift up our third honoree with the Martin Luther King Jr. Legacy Award, Miss Dorothy Gilliam. Miss Gilliam couldn't be with us today. She's actually out of town giving a Martin Luther King Jr. speech herself today.
I want to thank Restore Together for this award. It's such a great honor. And as I think about Dr. Martin Luther King and the incredible influence he had on America and the world, he was truly one of our founding fathers. I think about a time when I was at the Washington Post, about a year, it had been 1962. I was the first African-American woman, and there were 2 other black reporters there. But I was sent to be part of the team that covered the integration of Mississippi. Now, Mississippi was a thing apart. It was a place where blacks truly, truly were subjugated, and white supremacy was king. And I was, on the one hand, happy to go as a reporter, but I knew I had to go the way people go into war. You just take as many precautions as you can, but you know it's dangerous and it's scary. I flew into Memphis and met up with a photographer named Ernest Withers, and I had worked with him before in covering various civil rights events. And he knew how to negotiate the South. But it was, all hell was breaking loose in Mississippi because a black man had the audacity to integrate and to want to integrate the University of Mississippi. He had been turned away before. President Kennedy had to call out the troops. One journalist had already been killed. Another person had been killed on campus. So my job was to go and try to talk to the black community. What were they thinking about all of this incredible event where, in a state where black people were lynched, mercilessly lynched by whomever wanted to lynch them, where the news media was sympathetic to the segregationists, and blacks were just totally subjugated by church, by state, by all the conventions of government. And on the way to Memphis, on the way from Memphis to Oxford, Withers and I were stopped by a truck. It was some people driving a truck. It had gun racks on the top of it, and they saw the Tennessee license plates, I guess, and they pulled us over to the side and asked, where y'all from? And where y'all going? And Withers said, we're going to Jackson to see my brother. And I didn't say anything. I just prayed. And he said, well, get on in there and don't you go near Oxford. And we knew that the Klan was just rampant. This was the feeling that they were there to protect the most vital institution in the not just Mississippi, but the South. And so we took a different route, and we finally got to Oxford. And we had to find a place to stay. And of course, black reporters had to bow to all the institutions of segregation. And Oxford, Mississippi had no hotels for blacks. So usually we would go into and find the funeral home, because funeral directors knew what was going on. And so we went to the funeral home, and I ended up sleeping there that night. That's one of the things about that was scary, an added bit of kind of terror for women reporters. And there weren't that many black women reporters from black or white media covering the South. But you know, since you didn't have hotels, you just had to sleep in some strange beds, and you'd have to often just pray that you'd wake up the next morning. But at any rate, when I started interviewing the people in Mississippi, they were fearful on the one hand, but they were so excited and so happy that this, 26-year-old black man had the audacity to say, I'm going to be a student at the University of Mississippi. Blacks had only worked on that campus. And, but so they were so thrilled. And some people said, I'm leaving when the troops leave, because they were sure that the whites were going to just unleash their fury on them. And it turned out, of course, there were 32,000 troops that it took to get Meredith in the schools. The National Guard was federalized, and after several tries, James Meredith finally was able to get into the school. He stayed in a dormitory by himself with federal marshals, and went to school. So the isolation is another way, another things that blacks who took on these incredible acts of bravery and courage for the betterment of the race and for the betterment of America. So isolation was one thing they had to deal with. And so James Meredith had to stay in that dormitory by himself for a whole year. And I was on campus back at University of Mississippi in 2005, and I saw a black student walking past, and I asked him if he knew who the first black person was who had attended. He said, no, he didn't. And I said, well, his name was James Meredith, and we just happened to be walking past the dormitory where he stayed, and I said, this is the dormitory where he stayed. And I said he had to stay by himself for a whole year, just him and the marshal, in order to integrate. And the young man had his cap turned on backwards, and but when I told him that, he turned his hat around straight, and he said, I'm glad he did it. I appreciate it. And I think that all of us have so much to be thankful for. And so I'm thankful today, for this award from Restore Together. Thank you very much.
What a history lesson. As I mentioned, Dorothy was not able to be here with us today, so we accept this award on her behalf, and we will make sure that she gets it. But I'm glad that she was able to leave a history lesson for us all. Amen. Amen.